Let people live the way they want to. Ain't nobody's got business how you live your life. As long as you ain't shooting or killing nobody, if you want to have 5 wives, that's the American way.
Hello everyone and welcome to Happily Ever Reality. It's that time of year, the time of year where we can start looking forward to pumpkins, apple cider, that cool fall weather, and a new season of Sister Wives. The first episode of season 19 is going to air on September 15th. So leading up to it, I am going to be doing some 15-minute recaps of older Sister Wives episodes. I wasn't really sure what ones I wanted to recap, so I decided to let the Picker Wheel website decide for me. I put in the number of seasons, and then I selected the number of episodes, and I'm going to let the wheel decide. We are going with season 5, episode 7. So my goal is to keep this recap under 15 minutes, so let's go ahead and get started. This episode starts out by talking about previous episodes, and we see a clip of Janelle saying she sometimes thinks about running away. So that is where she is at. Of course, we know she doesn't do that in season 5. We also see that Mary and Cody are still talking about having a baby, and the houses are just now starting to be built in Vegas. So that is, a big picture of what is going on with the family. During the start of the episode, we find out that it is Logan's birthday, and during the dinner for his birthday, Cody makes a big announcement.
All right, how many of you would like to go on a fun family vacation taking 2 RVs to Nauvoo, Illinois?
Yes, you heard that right. They are headed to the very exotic and exciting Nauvoo, Illinois. And as you can imagine, the teens are just thrilled about this. They're going to be traveling for 3 days to get there, and they're going to have to travel 3 days back, all crammed together in 2 RVs, all because of Joseph Smith.
I'm not the most excited about Nauvoo. Nauvoo just doesn't sound like a fun place to go.
I don't always agree with McKelty, but I actually do this time. We end up finding out that Logan and Hunter aren't going to have to go on this trip. Hunter is actually going to go to a football camp, and he says that he is absolutely fine with that. He would rather go to football camp than go on this trip. Now, we can't talk about RVs without talking about how much Janelle enjoys them, so here's a clip of that.
For me, I wanted to stay in the RV, so I was really glad. I thought I'd have to fight for it.
Janelle didn't have to fight for it because Robin and Christine wanted nothing to do with sleeping in the RVs, so they stayed in hotels while Janelle stayed in one RV and Mary stayed in the other, and really, there is nothing at all surprising about that. Before I go any further, I do want to let you know that this recap may actually be pretty short because a lot of this episode focuses on the history of Mormonism, polygamy. They talk about Joseph Smith a lot. That is why they're going to Nauvoo. I'm not going to recap all of that. If you guys want to learn more about it, you could watch this episode if you wanted to. I'm not sure it's the best source, but you could. You'll learn something. I'm not going to recap it here, though. With that being said, there is a part of this episode where they compare Cody to Brigham Young. So I'm going to go ahead and put that on the screen so you can see it. So you guys can let me know down in the comments if you think Cody actually looks like Brigham Young. They seem to think so, or at least Robin does. So the Brown family packs up their stuff, loads into the RV, and to no one's surprise, the very first day, they are running hours behind. They wanted to arrive at their first destination at 8 o'clock, but instead they get there at 11. So Cody's upset about this, and he decides he wants to hold a meeting with all of the wives. And he wants to talk about the schedule, and he's trying to tell them they have to stay on it. He doesn't want to arrive late every night to their destination because he wants to be sure everyone is getting the sleep that they need, and it's not working the way they're doing it. So they're already off to a bad start. Mary says she has no problem sticking with the schedule, but you can tell Christine is really struggling. Like, she's having a hard time. They're not arguing, but there's like this sassiness that Christine has. It's not helping the situation, at least not in my opinion. But the Browns are so weird with the way they communicate. I don't know if there's a better way to handle it. You can tell, though, later when they do a couch session and they're talking about this, you can tell that Cody is not happy with how Christine recalls the events that took place on their traveling days. So I'm going to go ahead and put a clip in so you can see it.
So we had to have a family meeting.
At 11 o'clock.
Serious? A family meeting, 11 o'clock? I want to go to bed. You guys really want to be around me longer? You're kidding me.
So yeah, I don't think that was a look of love that he was giving her. I felt like he was sort of clenching his jaw, though he did smirk at the end. But, you know, I could be wrong. You guys can let me know down in the comments. I just felt like Cody didn't look happy there when Christine was talking. But that isn't all that Christine isn't happy about. Not just the family meeting. Here she is talking about Mary and the schedule issue.
And Mary's like, we have a schedule. As you have a schedule, I don't care if we stick with the schedule, but we do have a schedule and we need to hit the schedule. Otherwise, we're not going to be on schedule. I'm like only hearing wah, 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 wah.
Listen, as much as I like Christine, I don't think she should have acted that way about Mary talking about a schedule. And listen, if I was Mary, I wouldn't have been angry about how Christine was acting, but I also wouldn't have been happy. I probably just would have kept it to myself. Like, it would have been one of those things that sort of upset me, but I made myself let it go. I just don't think Christine is the best version of herself in this episode. And, you know, some of those earlier episodes that, you know, I don't know. Christine's a changed woman, in my opinion. But you guys let me know down in the comments if you see a difference from the earlier seasons to, like, how she behaves now. I think she's very different. With that being said, nothing about this is surprising. To me, this is just, like, classic Brown family stuff. So we know this trip was probably more tense than we even realize. Now the family is all crammed together and they continue traveling on down the road without getting enough sleep, running behind, driving through bad weather, and eventually Mary and Cody start arguing about who is going to drive. And during this, we get a gem of a quote from Cody.
I was just ready to melt down because I was too exhausted to sit there and try and delegate, and I wanted to bark orders and have them obeyed.
Another classic Brown moment. I mean, Cody loves words like obey, submit, respect, loyalty, and here he is wanting them to obey him. Now, I will tell you this. I do not feel any sympathy at all for Cody Brown. He chose polygamy. He chose this life, but I do understand why he feels that way. Can you imagine every decision you make, every choice on a vacation, instead of just asking your partner or maybe asking just like your kids and your immediate family, you have a giant family and 4 wives who seem to be polar opposites in their personalities, and you have to try to make them all happy. I would probably be cranky and tired and just want to tell people what to do as well. So I do understand why he's feeling this way. I don't think he should have used the word obey, but again, no sympathy for me. He chose this life. Now, in all of this tension, Mary does find a way to lighten things up. She finds a touristy spot in Kansas called Truckhenge, and it is what you imagine. It's a bunch of trucks that are standing up straight, like Stonehenge, but trucks. Genuinely, this seems to lighten things up for everyone, and Cody really, really likes it. You know, I think it was a great idea to get the Brown kids out of the RVs and have everyone moving around. And the owner of Truckhenge, Ron Lessman, he is a character. The type of character that I really enjoy watching, and it's also the type of character that Cody enjoys. So it's one of the rare moments where I agree with Cody. I think this guy, the guy who owns Truckhenge, is funny, but Christine doesn't.
He drove me nuts. Sorry.
You gotta have a little fun.
He lives in the middle of nowhere, makes everything by himself, hates the government.
What's amazing about it, Gwenny? The stuff.
Is this real? Really?
Yes, really, season 5 version of Christine. There are people that want to live in the middle of nowhere, make their own stuff, and don't like the government. And be honest with you, I can understand why they want to live that way. So Christine is just not about this. And again, it's one of those things where when you're watching this episode, it's easy to kind of be like, not so sure about Christine. I don't think she was shown in the best light, but she's the one who keeps saying this stuff. Oh, I forgot to mention this. The guy at the beginning of this video talking about how it's the American way to live how you want to live, as long as you're not hurting anyone, that is Ron Lessman. Just thought I would add that in here. Unfortunately, the time at Truckhenge comes to an end, and instead of the family loading up and just going home and calling it quits, they continue on to Nauvoo, Illinois. But before they get there, they stop in the hometown of Mark Twain. It's where he grew up. Now, I do want to tell you, as they're traveling to this town, all of the stress and tension is still there. I mean, they are tired, cranky, they're in each other's spaces. The kids are starting to say that they're sick of each other. So this traveling, this time in the RV is not going well. But they get to Mark Twain's hometown, and they get to get out of the RVs again. So things are better. Now, while they're taking a tour of this town, the museum curator is leading them around, and he says Mark Twain traveled to Salt Lake City during the height of polygamy, and he got to see Mormon polygamists. Do you guys want to know what he had to say about them? And of course, the Brown family's like, yeah, of course we want to know. And then this is what he says about Mormon women.
Then I was touched. These poor, ungainly, and pathetically homely creatures.
So yeah, I don't think Mark Twain found Mormon women attractive, but that isn't the end of it. He goes a little further, and this is what he says about the men who marry these Mormon women.
The man that marries one of them has done an act of Christian charity, and the man that marries 60 of them has done a deed of open-hearted generosity so sublime that the nation should stand uncovered in his presence and worship silence.
There was no way I was going to leave that part out. It was my favorite part of this episode. Now, with that being said, we have to move on because the family is trying to get to Nauvoo. So they load back into the RVs and they travel on, and they finally make it there. And it's pretty much just what you expect. It's like not something you'd want to go to if you weren't interested in the history of Joseph Smith. If anyone knows another reason to go to Nauvoo, go ahead and leave it down in the comments, because this does not look like somewhere most people would want to travel to. The family ends up going on a walking tour. They learn more about the history of polygamy and Joseph Smith. We find out that Joseph Smith had possibly, because they don't know for sure, but possibly had 33 wives, and some of the wives already had husbands and kept their husbands, so there were sister wives and brother husbands. Now, when they're learning this, they're shocked, but Janelle says she doesn't care what Joseph Smith did. He's not Jesus, he's not God, he's just a man, and what he does doesn't change anything for her. So the Browns spend some more time touring Nauvoo, and then the show ends there. They're eating dinner, and that is it. That is this episode. Look at this. I did the recap in under 15 minutes. That was my goal. Goal accomplished today. Now, if you think I left out something important when I was pursuing that goal, you can go ahead and let me know down in the comments. If you want to add some context to what was going on, feel free to leave a comment down below. I love reading them. If you liked my video and feel like it, go ahead and click like and subscribe. I appreciate all the support I get here at this channel. It's a lot of fun. I love the Sister Wives community that's here. Keep the comments nice. That's my only request. And I hope you'll come back for more 15-minute recaps of Sister Wives.